Hello everyone. How is everybody doing today? I'm just getting everything pulled up on my end so I can follow along in case you guys have any comments or questions. I think I've got it here. I just had to turn the volume off so that you don't get any feedback from me having my voice in there twice. I'm gonna try to just get rid of some of that glare. Sorry for that. I don't know that I'll be able to get rid of that part there, but hopefully it's not too bad for you. All right, so I am Alana Wharf, Sleepless Stamper. I am a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in Winnipeg, Manitoba in Canada. And this is day number 3 of the Seaside Wishes series of cards. So for the last month or so, I have been doing a week-long series every week featuring a different stamp set. And this week it is Seaside Wishes. So I started the week off with this card here with the technique where I tinted the silver enamel effects. And then yesterday I did some bubble stamping. Hi Linda, how are you? And did that technique here where I tinted the paper first, and then I die cut the sand dollars and stamped the seahorses, my goodness, starfish. Every time I go to call that a seahorse, I don't know why. And then today I have another fun technique to show you. I have done this before, but it has been, oh, I got a little bit of stuff on this card. I think it's just stuff that was erased off, but it's a technique that I've done before, but it is the mixture that has been on this glass mat that has been preventing me from being able to use it for the other technique. So I decided I was going to use it today and show you a fun way to make this card. All right, so we are going to get started with the card supplies. If you wish to share the video, please do. No pressure to do so, but if you would like to, you are more than welcome to. I'm just going to bring this a little closer, and then you can see more of the card. And if you would like to earn a set of the supplies from this week, you can always use this host code and make a $65 purchase, and then you will get the supplies for the entire week worth of cards. You can also contact me, and if I have an order going in, hi Lena, how are you? Then I can add it to those as well. All right, so I have some supplies here. I have a thick white card base. It is 5.5 by 8.5, scored at 4 1/4. I have a pretty peacock layer that is 3 5/8 by 4 7/8. I have a whisper white, goodness, basic white layer that is 3.5 by 4 3/4. That's going to become this layer here. I have pre-die cut these little elements. They are from the Seaside Wishes dies. And we're trying to determine what these are. Are they sea anime? Is that what they're called? Hi. Oh, I thought I saw Cindy there, but nope. I think that's what they're called. If you guys know what elements these are, let me know. So I've pre-die cut those, and then I am going to die cut some extra little elements, these little sprigs. This die does not come in the set. This one is from Cheerful Daisies, but I love this little detail from Cheerful Daisies. And if you earn, hi Cindy, that was you there that I saw. If you earn the kits, this will be die cut for you. But if you are using your own bundle from home, then maybe you have a little sprig or something like that in another set that you can cut them from. The other thing that I have seen done is you can always cut this and then trim off the edge, and then you can get that little spriggy looking element. So I will die cut these from this piece of paper. That is from the Thoughtful Wishes Suite. It's the Thoughtful Designs Specialty DSP that you get in these different colors. I love this one. Hey, Michelina, how are you? Did you say you have this bundle? You love this bundle. Do you own it yet? All right, and then I am going to do a technique to this piece here as well, and then we're going to stamp the starfish on it. And I have some scraps to stamp the greeting on. That's Granny Apple Green. Separate from this, I have a bunch of ink supplies. So I have some Granny Apple Green, Summer Splash, and Pretty Peacock Reinker. We're doing all kinds of I can't promise what the next 2 days will bring, but so far this week we're doing all kinds of fun re-inker techniques. So Granny Apple Green, Summer Splash, and Pretty Peacock. So we're going to use those. I also have Whisper White re-inker. I'm going to use that. I have a cup of water nearby, and I have this palette knife. Now, I'll just use this paper towel. Should make it through it, but we'll see. Okay, I also have my Pretty Peacock Dark Blends, and I have a paintbrush as well. So you could use an aqua painter. I'm going to use this paintbrush here today, and that should be everything. I also have a spritzer with water. Can I actually get you to refill this one, please? So I have a spritzer with water that we're going to use as well. All right, so we're going to get right into the techniques so that we have some time for those to dry. And if you have seen this technique, bear with me. Hopefully you'll enjoy the end result anyway. All right, it's fun too to see a technique. Hey, Marcia and Louise. It's fun to see a technique used in different ways instead of feeling like you have to have a new technique every single time. Especially if you're somebody who has gone and bought the white re-inker because you saw me do this before, then I love that it gives you a new way to use it. All right, so I have a little puddle, and a little puddle. So that is all white. This one's a little small, and so is this one. So that's white pigment ink. So we're going to close that up. Now I'm going to make one puddle tinted with Pretty Peacock ink. I'm going to put a couple drops of re-inker and start from there. I might come back and add more, but we're going to start from there. And excuse my hands, they are covered in different colors of ink. I had a few different palettes. I didn't just have these colors on here. I had other colors as well. So I was trying to use them up as much as I could before I cleaned off the mat so that I could do this technique with you guys. And you know, when you use techniques with re-inkers, your hands can get very messy if you don't wear gloves. So I've got all kinds of colors all over me. All right, so I have this little palette here. I am going to just mix this up. I have a feeling I'm going to add some more. This one looks pretty light compared to what I have here. So before I move on, we're going to add another drop of re-inker. If you are watching, do all of you have white re-inker? I have actually done this technique a couple of times for other teams. They've had me be a guest presenter, and I know with one of them, most of them didn't have white re-inker, so they were all rushing to buy white re-inker on their next order. I'm going to put another one in there, maybe even a couple. No white re-inker. Oh no, you might need to order some, Louise. Are you a demo? I feel like you are. I could be wrong, but all right. So yes, awesome. Cindy, I'm glad you have it, and hopefully you will give this a try. All right, so I might stop there. And I have a dauber also. I forgot to tell you guys that. I have a dauber here for each of the colors. So we're going to, I didn't want to stick this straight in the water and rinse that off. I want to make sure that I use most of that. So I just put that on the dauber, and I'm going to use that shortly. So right now I'm just rinsing the palette off in my cup of water, and then we're going to mix the next one. And I probably am going to need to add more re-inker to this one too, given that I needed to add quite a bit more to the Pretty Peacock one. So we may as well just throw a couple more drops in there. Your re-inker bottle lasts so long that I'm not worried about using up a few drops. And there, we just made this puddle a lot bigger by having to spread that out. I think we need a little silicone spatula for this. I know I don't know, have any of you guys heard? You're not a demo, Louise? Sorry about that. I don't know why I thought that you were. Are you watching from Canada or another country? it's always fun to know where everybody's watching from. How about everybody else? So I was going to say, I don't know if you guys have ever heard of the Spat Daddy. It's like a little spatula that fits inside bottles. But I was saying when I was cleaning up my glass mat earlier and making, oh, you are from Canada. So this one, I'm going to use that up on this dauber. But we bought these tiny little silicone spatulas that you can put inside bottles, like makeup bottles or and craft supply bottle. And I can't find them, but I was thinking those would be useful to scrape all this back up into one pile. So I'll be on a mission to find them or order more, and then the first ones will turn up. You can get them like the name brand, Spat Daddy, and I think there's maybe one called the, I don't know what it's called. There's a smaller one. There's two different sizes. I can't remember the name of the smaller one. Okay. But they're like the most baby little spatulas for going inside small bottles. Okay. So just get these mixed. Hi, Dorothy. All right, and if you tuned in yesterday, I don't know if you've been on my page yet today, I managed to get the reel done. I actually would like to do one with this technique as well. So I won't be able to do it tonight because I would want to redo it during daylight, but so maybe tomorrow, we'll see. Okay, so that is good for the mixing. I'll just put that in there. Now this paper, we are going to use this mixture and we're gonna make this design out of that mixture there. So we're going to just pick that up with here, with the dauber. And this is gonna be a lot for this. Like you could do a couple different ones. I may actually have to quickly cut another piece of paper and do two, just so that we can make good use out of this. But when you mix this with white craft ink, look how easily that glides on there. So if you want a really opaque blending job with your paper or on your paper, mixing it with craft ink just lets it glide right on there. All right, so I did about a third, and a third, but you could go random with your blending. You could do whatever you want. So I'm gonna pick up some of the Summer Splash and we're gonna blend that next. And look how far that goes. It just makes such good use out of it. Now I'm gonna blend over this line. Sorry you get a little bit of camera shake. You can tell this one, I have more re-inker in there than I did on the first one. I wish it was a little bit lighter, but that's okay. You'll never get the same exact look twice. Now I'm just blending over that line again. And then I'm gonna come over again and I might just pick up a little bit more of that ink. And come over again from this side. Now I am going to rotate this around. This is where I get the inky fingers from. I'll try to, this may lift a little bit where my fingers are, but I can always come back in again and add a little bit more. So this time I'm gonna come from this side. I'll just quickly wipe up the green so that I don't put that right onto the Pretty Peacock side. And then we'll come in here and blend the Pretty Peacock. And I'll come over that line a little bit. Bring back in this one. Sorry for the shaking. Okay, now we'll come back over that with this again. So I just go over that transition line a couple of times. There we go. So now what I'm going to do is just wipe up that spot on the table. Hi Kathy, how are you? Try to wipe this up without shaking the table like crazy. Okay, so we have this one. I'm going to leave this aside for a minute. And now I need to create a little piece of paper with this one here, I'm going to create a piece that I can stamp these guys on. So I want to show you the result. Actually, maybe I'll show you what I'm doing first, and then I'll show you the result of what I did with this mixture that was left on my table. Alrighty, I just realized that one stuck together before. All right, now I did say maybe I would do two, but I'm not going to. Instead, what I'm going to do is see if I can pick up some of each of these and move them over, and then I can hopefully save some of this and do a few more later. That seems to be working. So we're gonna do this instead, and then it won't use all of it. So I'm just rinsing off my palette in between, and then I'll wipe it off, and I'm gonna scoop up some of this one. You could also do this on a silicone mat if you have one. It works just fine on there. That's in fact how I used to do this before we had the glass mat. Or I have some of the, gosh, the grid sheets that I have laminated with a glossy finish, and they work fine too. Okay, so I'm going to show you guys this next step. It's fun. I think it's fun anyway. I might be biased, but now this next part is like a happy little accident. I had done this other technique. Are they special daubers? They are just the Stampin' Up! Daubers. So if you buy the ones from Stampin' Up!, that is the ones that I've used, and you can rinse this out. If you don't have a ton of daubers and you need to be able to use them in other ink after, you can wash this out of there. All right. I think they may come, let me just see if I have, sorry, my drawers need to be oiled. They come in a package of 5. So they come just in a pack like this, and they come nice and white, and mine have now clearly been well tinted. I have lots of different ones. Oh, you're welcome. Okay, so this part here was a happy accident. I had a piece of paper, and I think I actually showed you guys that. I had told you I was working on a technique, and that I had this piece of paper that had fallen into the mixture that was sitting on the table, and I loved how it tinted that like that. I actually really love how bold this is and how that mixed, and this next part is what I came up with in the meantime to achieve this effect on a larger piece of paper, but it might have some work yet to be done, but I will still go ahead with what I have for today. So what I decided to do to repeat this look that I have here, this is just a piece of printer paper, is move some of this over. I did it just on the palette I had on my leftover on the glass mat earlier because I was just going to use up the rest, but I'm not sure that I need to use up the rest of this just yet. So that's why I moved some over. If you were going to use all of this, then you don't need to move it over. You can just do this in place. But I'm going to try to do something else with this later. I will actually need to quickly grab another piece of paper. I will probably be able to do more than one with this. So we are going to play with this and see what we can get. So I just need to cut myself another couple strips. Here we go. Okay, so we'll do this one first. What I'm going to do, I'm going to move my card because this is going to be a little messy, and you guys will get to see the fun. So I am going to, this is just a spritzer with water. So we're going to spritz this. Look at that. My hose code is going to be, okay, so we're going to just place this. I don't know that this is runny enough. My puddle was considerably smaller earlier when I did this. And then look at that. Is that not cool, you guys? I am going to dip that edge a little bit in there. I don't want all just one color, so we have that. And I am going to, okay, so this is what some of them were like earlier. I have this one. This is the one I stamped on. There is lots here. I think I'm going to be creating a few of these because that's a lot of ink I moved over. I just wasn't sure how far that would go. So we're gonna, look at all that. It's making a huge mess, but it's worth it. Okay, so we're gonna drop that in there. I'm gonna try to use some of these up. I got another one. So here we'll just drop like that. I don't want them all in one side, so we'll drop like that. So here you can get a little bit of a mix. I'll put this empty part up here, and then we'll come in a little bit here. There we go. And then I think I'll take this part here and dab that into the green a little bit. Just in the middle there. Oh, and then let it run too. So I actually took my spritzer, and I don't love that little triangular pattern. I'll let that run. There we go. Okay, and I may even grab a sheet or two more. Hopefully you guys don't mind. I'm going to try a quarter of a sheet, and we'll see how that turns out. I will show you the quarter of a sheet that I did earlier, where I dipped the edges in it. And I think that if I layer something on there, that's really cool. So I left this one with the borders. I loved how the borders turned out, so I didn't want to lay it fully on there. But we are going to try, this needs to be a little more wet, this part, the pretty peacock. These ones are looking pretty good because I think I had less in them. There we go. And do a little more. All right, now let's try this. So we're gonna do a whole quarter sheet. And hopefully this will use up some of this so that it doesn't just fully go to waste. Isn't that neat? And then we'll dip this side in that Granny Apple Green. Now we're gonna use up this other quarter sheet. I'll spray that part one more time, and then I think we should be good to wipe it off. I'll leave this here, and hopefully I don't end up with my project in it, but let that run a little into there. If you have one of those little camera tools where it's like an air blower, you could direct that this way, but we're not going to do that for now. So this is kind of like yesterday. Yesterday it was bubbles, and we were popping them with the paper, and this is sort of just like it's placing it right into the puddle as opposed to a bubble. All right, definitely a messy one. Again, you could wear gloves if you have things in your life where you can't go around with inky hands. Hi, Cindy. Then this may be one. Oh, I kind of like how that's just a mottled look in the corner. Let's see these splatters. Let's place that on the splatter and see how, look how that textured that. That's neat. I feel like, do you know what I should do with this? There is the new, it's coming out in July, the leaves set that has, I can't remember what it's called, but it has the hybrid die and embossing folder set. I think this paper would be super cool, die cut with the textured leaves. So what made me think of that is this looks like a little leaf. It looks like it's got veining in there. So we're gonna have to try that, and I'm gonna try to just pick up some of this splatter on there so that it's a little more textured. I love how it deposits that textured look onto there. All right, so let's see if we can get some of that texture onto here, and then we'll clean this up and move on so that you guys don't have to stay here all night while I get covered in ink. So I'll wipe this up, and then I'll lay the pieces out so you can see them all, and I'll do the next technique to our little background that I made here. It wipes up pretty easy though. It's just re-inker and water, or not water, yeah, water and the craft re-inker. Sorry about that. And I will just spray this again here with water, so that I get all that re-inker off of where I'm going to be working. So I will leave this here. Hi Sharon, how are you? How are things going for you? All right. There we are. So now these are all of the pieces that I made with that little mixture. So you can get a lot of pieces when you mix together some of that re-inker, but every one of them is different. I love how these large ones turned out. I'm glad I decided to try that. But here are some of the ones from earlier. I just dipped one side, and I loved it the way it was. So I didn't want to one day at a time. Oh, I didn't want to add any more. Once it turned out like this and I really loved it, I just left it at that. But I think this might make a neat, just a panel on a card or something like that. So I kept those. This is the one that I showed you before that I did just the borders of. And then I also have all of these ones. So every piece is going to be a little different. You can see here I had more of the green left over at the end with my last batch, and I love that how that almost looks like blueberry bushel. So if you did some blueberry bushel in this mix, I think that would look super cool as well. But I love these, so I'll have to do some other interesting things with them. Maybe I'll have to do a mashup card at the end of the week with all of the leftover technique pieces. But isn't that fun? I hope you guys like that, and I hope that you will give it a try. So we'll see if I can get a reel sorted out with this product, which means I have to make more of it again so that I have the supplies to do a reel with, which is the one catch when you're doing techniques and making an extra video and a reel with it, that you end up with lots of the supplies left over. Okay, so I also have, I said I was going to use my paintbrush, and I'll bring my card back in so you guys can see that. So on this layer here, hi Darcy, how are you? I purposely splattered some water to also then lift some of this ink off and create that white splatter. So I'm going to just get the paintbrush wet here. I'm going to move this one again out of the way and just splatter on there. So I'm also going to, hi Bree, how are you? It was lovely to see you yesterday. Not in person, of course, but that would have been even better. But we had an artisan meeting yesterday, so we got to see each other online. So here I am just making some bigger splatters. And in a moment, I will lift them off. Okay, so this one has more smaller splatters than the other. And again, that's something that's going to turn out differently every time. You'll have to catch the replay, Lena. There's lots of tips for you to learn this time. All right, so now I'm just going to take a paper towel and dab that off, and that will help lift. Aw, did you see Yvonne, I think, posted a screenshot of that? I was very tempted to take one, and then I wasn't sure I should, so I'm glad she did. I'll have to ask her for that. I was kind of hoping we might all smile for a picture together, but I'm glad she just went ahead and took one. I'm going to add a few more on this side just to balance it out a little bit. Let it sit there and lift the color for a minute. There we go. Now there's one more thing. This is where, I'll make sure this is dry actually first. I don't think it would make a difference, but we'll quickly dry this. Thanks, Linda. Okay, so that is dry. Now I'm going to take my dark Pretty Peacock blends and my bone folder, and I am creating more splatter. So I'm gonna just bring that closer. Look at that. That's need to get a new one. All right, so let's bring this closer. Now you can see that there's layering of splatter. So the white, or it's just water, which makes it look white, and then the Pretty Peacock mixed in. Now I also have the strip of this paper that we dipped all of the white into the watered down mixture on the table. I'm going to use this one, but I was just wondering, I think I should add some splatter to this. I did not do that earlier, or should I leave it? Maybe I'll leave it. So these here are stamped onto this paper here with Versamark, and then I'm going to heat set them with clear powder. I think I'll leave it. But I have done that before where I've done this and then stamped on top. So those colors kind of come through, like the splattering comes through what you stamp on top of it as well. Look at my hands. What a mess. Okay, so this is nice and dry because this one I did when I made my sample, but I still want to embossing buddy this. I want to make sure that there's as little static in that paper as possible. So I have my Versamark ink and my clear powder. So we're just going to tap that down. Sorry if that's making it shaky. I don't want that to go in my re-inker. That would be a mess. Now we're going to, I think this would be super fun though if these were stamped on that. I think that would be a nice bold. Ah, I love that you do, Linda, and you always put them to such good use. Linda is like the card maker queen. Okay, so we're gonna just turn this one a little bit to fit it on the inked portion, though I think it would be fine to have a little bit of white as well. Hi, Michelle, how are you? All right, now I'm going to also stamp the little guy over here. Cover my Versamark back up, and then I'm going to coat that with clear powder. All right. I hope you guys don't mind all the funky ink techniques this week. I didn't necessarily set out to do that, but this ink mixture on my glass mat has been taunting me, and I think it goes so well with this stamp set. I also didn't necessarily set out for 3 cards to have the same color palette so far, but that's how it's worked out. So hopefully I come up with something that is of a different color palette, but it's also kind of nice when they're the same color palette, because then when you go to remake them, you don't have to have so many supplies if you don't already own them. Okay, so those 2 are coated with clear powder. Now we are going to, oh, awesome. I'm glad to hear that, Louise. Heat set this, and I love this. Thank you, Kathy. If you have never heat embossed before, there's something so satisfying. I'm going to try to bring this closer so you guys can see, but I'm sorry about the noise of the heat gun. I love that when you can see it transform from powdery to glossy. It's just so satisfying. And I always recheck the outer tips of those. You can see that that one wasn't quite glossy enough. So I just angle the paper towards the light so that I can see it reflect off of the image, and then I can kind of tell that it's heat set. There we go. So we're all heat set. Now we've got to line up my 2 dies, which are right here. Sorry, I didn't show you guys the stamp and die set today. I have been trying to show it to you at the beginning of each video, because you never know if somebody's watching for the first time or whether you've been with me all week to see them. So I think this is the correct placement for that guy. It's hard to tell when it's so clear, so just bear with me a second. When it's a clear embossed image through there, it's kind of hard to tell. All right, so we're going to tape that down. This one's easier to tell because it has this very distinct bend. So that one I don't really need to be so careful with. We know where that one goes. But I do still need to be careful with this clear image that I have aligned this all properly. Hi, Doris. Okay, so we've got this lined up. Do I tempt bringing my, I'll bring the little machine over, and hopefully I don't regret that choice. All right, so we're gonna move this over for just a moment. This shouldn't slide around because it's on the glass mat, so hopefully we're good. We're gonna just tuck that on there, place this down, and then I just hold that in, get that going. And I have still these little sprigs. I'll bring this back in for you. I still need to do these little sprigs. And I saved those to do because I wanted to show you the paper that I am cutting them from. So I'll just set that down for now. Now I need to run this through twice. On the first part of the card, or the first one that I use the full sprig. So that's the one from Cheerful Daisies. So we're gonna run that through first, and unfortunately I only have one of this, so I do need to, and it's the same one that I've used on both, so we're gonna just tuck this that way. Try to get the best use out of the paper. Look at my hands, what a mess. Yikes. If it's not soil from planting flowers and tomatoes, it's re-inker. And that's what happens when you do multiple different re-inker techniques in a week. We don't always do that. It's not always so messy. So there's one. And now I may as well just do a second one. I think I can fit both on here widthwise. So I'll just do a full second one. But if there wasn't room, then I could just tuck this along there. And these two sprigs are all I used for the second part. But I am going to fit this whole one on here. And we will roll that from the other side. Just make sure it's fully on the paper. Does anyone have this paper from the Thoughtful Journey Suite? It is so pretty. We used it in May Stamp Club when we used the Thoughtful Journey Suite. Now I want to make sure that I don't crank this right into that mix. All right. Okay, here we are. Okay, you do have that paper, Cindy? It is very pretty. Have you made anything with it yet? I love the purple in there as well. I feel like I have another mosquito bite. The mosquitoes are just, we were talking about them yesterday. They're terrible. Look at my hands. I've got this all over. It's a good thing that's the other benefit of doing as many pieces of paper as you can while you have the ink mixed, because unless you're wearing gloves, you're going to get it on your hands. And while you're getting messy, you may as well do as much of it as you can. Okay, so I could probably still get another couple small ones there, so I'm gonna save that. We now have all of the die cut elements. I just have one more thing to stamp. So I have these scraps of Granny Apple Green. So we're gonna tuck that. I'll bring the card back, put it here, and I'll just put my little elements there. I have the greeting all set up, whoopsie, on a block, and I have Pretty Peacock ink. So this is actually the only part where I'm using the Pretty Peacock ink pad. The rest has been all blending. So we're gonna use that, and I'm going to just stamp this about 1/4 of an inch over from the edge. Hi, Ashley. And then I'm going to trim this down. I could have done that before, I guess. I didn't really need to wait. The width of the Pretty Peacock is 4 7/8, and I just laid that right across the whole thing. So I'm just gonna cut this quickly at 4 7/8. There we go. So now this will just lay across there. Now I feel like this one's a little bit, it's bigger than 1/2 inch. So let's trim it down. The trick is, where did I put my little cutter? Here it is. I had a pack of cardstock on top of it. So I'm gonna move this for a second just because I'm working with a little bit tighter of a work area with this mess here. So I am going to just trim like maybe a 1/16 of an inch off, top and bottom. So let's see if I can pull this off, everybody. Okay, so there's a little bit. I don't, because I centered it, I don't want to take the amount I'm going to trim off of one side. That would be, no, this actually isn't even straight. So let's see. That might monkey with the greeting being straight. I might have to redo this, but we'll see. We'll see if it works. Now, let's see if that is, I think I missed just a little bit. There, we can just straighten out this end here. There we are. There, that worked out. If you haven't been watching lately, the pin in here is broken. That's why I have to pull it out. And then I make Karen nervous every time. I make myself nervous sometimes. Okay, so now we have all these layers and we can work on assembly. So let's just move these for a second. I am going to distress the edge of this just a little bit. Has anybody tried this, and do you feel encouraged to? If you have not, do you think you'll give this technique a try? I hope that you guys will. You can do this in any color that you have re-inkers for. I have, oh, I should show you. I had some petals from, I'm going to show you guys. Oh dear, where did I put it? I showed you guys before, but while we're talking this mix, I wanted to be able to tell you that that is how I did the coloring on Layers of Beauty. And let me just see if I can find that little piece of cardstock that I did that on. First of all, though, I was telling you that you could do this with any color. So I had some other color palettes sitting here with, oh gosh, Petunia Pop, Peach Pie, Shy Shamrock, and then I don't remember what the other color was. There was another color in there. Anyhow, there was 4 colors. And so I used up some of that mixture as well and did these ones here. So similar to this. But I did some coloring with those. That's where I was going with that. I colored some Layers of Beauty images in with that mixture. And though I have shown them to you, I wanted to show them to you while we're talking about the ink mixture. But I don't know where I have put them. Let me just see if nope. I was going to start working on turning them into a card. If they turn up while I'm here, I will show them to you. Well, that's a bummer. I should have had those handy. The one that I did with the colors that I've used today is, oh, here they are. Okay, so this mixture here, I used that and colored this in. So from here, because it's got the white mix in it, it will actually go onto a colored cardstock fairly well without making it pilly. It glides over that just like it does onto here. So you have a little bit more flexibility with being able to color with it, but the white in it also helps the color to stand out, my fingers are terrible, from the colored background. So that was this color palette on Smoky Slate. And then this was the Petunia Pop, Peach Pie, and Shy Shamrock color palette on Crumb Cake, and this is the one that I did these with. So look how different that looks from here to this. So I just wanted to be able to show you guys that. All right, so now that is distressed just a little bit. Make sure that I did all sides before I got sidetracked with showing you how I used that to color with. All right. So this will just get glued on to here. Okay. Next, we will glue dot these. What I'm actually going to do is use my card as a guide. I am not attaching this just yet. This is just for dry fitting purposes. So we are going to tuck these like this. And I will use a glue dot to attach these. So I'm just putting one in the middle. By the time we add all these layers, this will be well adhered. So I don't need to worry too much that just a glue dot isn't enough to hold that down. We're going to dimensional the greeting on top and all that kind of stuff. So actually just angle this one. I like seeing that little detail hang over. Now with those in place, we are going to dimensional this strip here, and I can see it's a little bit too wide. Gosh, the re-inker under my finger. I'm just gonna trim this to fit. I just need to trim like a 1/16 of an inch off. And we'll see that this works. There we go, that's better. And I have full-sized dimensionals that I'm going to use to attach this. So I'll put one on either end and one in the middle. All right, so this is going to kind of border the transition line between the two colors. And I'm going to go a little bit lower. It's about an inch from the bottom. And this looks a little bit too long still. I'm a little bit crooked, so I can just adjust this. There, oh no, that's moved up too much. Sometimes it is so hard to get something straight when you're trying not to put your head in everybody's way. Do you guys ever notice that? Okay, so now here, I'm gonna just come right behind here and trim that off. All right, now we can dimensional this down to the card. And then I love doing different ink techniques. Sometimes it's nice to just do something simple, but when you get on a roll with this, it's hard to stop. It's just like one technique leads into another. All right, whoops. So we're gonna try not to get my hand in that ink on the side. Do you remember last week I was telling you how I had purple re-inker all under my arm? It was because I put it down in some of that while I was working. I've had blue all up my arm. Oh, thank you, Kathy. Okay, so we're here so far. Now I want to take one of these and I'm going to glue dot this tucked underneath these upper C elements, whatever they are called. Again, if you know what these things are called, please tell us. We weren't sure. Sand dollars, sea anime, what are they? Anima, and I don't even know how to say that. There we go. Now for this one, I am going to snip off these bottom two and we're gonna save this top one for another project. Okay, so I have one little sprig left to use for something else. And these little guys, I'm actually gonna snip that little bottom off because that'll be too long probably to tuck in there. So I just want to make sure that's going to fit before I put the, yep, so I can now put a little glue dot on the end there, and then I can reach in and tuck that in place. Okay, so tell me, are you the crafters who would wear gloves? I have actually worn gloves when I've done this, if I like have something that I'm not going to be able to. I should have tucked this in before I put the greeting on because it's a little harder to get that in there. I may have to, I'm going to just snip it a little bit shorter. And that's actually going to disconnect them, but that's okay. I can stick them in there separately. Or I can put one in with the glue dot and then just tack the other one down to the glue dot is probably what I'll do. Sorry for the fiddling. There we go. Now I can probably reach this one in and stick it on the same glue dot. There we go. Okay, now we have these little sand dollars, sorry, starfish. One day I'll call them all the right thing. It'll be next week when we're no longer featuring this bundle that I will refer to them by their proper name. My goodness. Okay, so now this one I'm just dimensionaling right in here so it kind of nestles around the greeting. Now the little sand dollar is going on with another single dimensional just right in the middle. And it is going kind of offset down to the bottom here. There we go. I might need to put a little bit of dimensional underneath there because it's overlapping a little bit. So when you need to overlap it, I'm going to just reach in there and I'm going to place this so that it is aligned with where that little dimensional is overlapping the greeting. I'm going to just, it's on my scissors, can you see there that I'm sticking that right underneath where the one is that the little detail is on. Now I need to just grab that, there we go. And now it won't cave down on my element. I just need to reach in there and get that little backing off. I'll use a piercer after to lift that off. And you don't even have to lift it off. It's already held in place, so it's fine if you don't. Okay, so now I have the same elements as yesterday. We're going to use the flat adhesive backed pearls. And I am going to find my piercer. I've got 2 of them sitting here. I'm going to use the large one. And these are different shapes. I find some of them are a little more round. So I'm going to use one that's a little more round on the large one. And then one of these little oblong guys on the smaller. Oh, I don't like it turned that way. It's going to get turned. So because they're oblong, sometimes you've got to just pay attention to what direction it goes. If it doesn't look right to your eye, just move it. All right, thanks, Linda. So that is the card for today, card number 3. Can you believe there's no ribbon or twine? I feel like something's missing because there isn't. I tried to place a little baker's twine bow on it and it just wasn't working for me. I just wasn't sure where to put it, and I do really like it as is, so I decided to leave it. But I've got the bow tied. It just, there wasn't anywhere quite where it belonged, so I left it off. But there is one other thing I thought might work. I'm not going to put it on, but I'll show you guys. We have this ribbon that is coming out. It is the white frayed grosgrain ribbon, and I thought it might have looked neat if there was just like a little border on one of the sides. Thank you, Louise. That's really nice of you. Thanks everybody for your compliments, Kathy and Linda and Louise. That's so nice of you guys. It's so nice of you to come and watch with me. It's enjoyable to have an audience to stamp along with. I hope you guys are enjoying the techniques this week. This bundle was not originally on my radar. I don't even know what made me decide to get it, but I decided to, obviously, and I've been having fun with it. I think this one lends really well to different blending backgrounds, and I like actually how, oh no, look at that. At least I can cut this off and I can put it on a new card base, or I can even just heat this up. You know what, I'll do that for you guys. I'm going to heat this. I don't want to fight with this while it's on here, so we're going to heat this and dry it. I may as well show you guys how to fix these little errors because they happen to all of us. I'm just drying this so that while I'm taking this off, I don't end up with this ink all over. Okay, that's the hazard of working where this stuff is all over. Now I'm going to heat this up from the back. This is an easy fix, thankfully. At least I didn't drop it on the front. Am I making you all nervous though? I'm making myself a little nervous. So I'm just heating up where those dimensionals are, holding the pretty peacock layer down. Now that will help release the adhesive. So these will come off a little easier. I was hoping that the dimensionals would come with. It's just loosening the pretty peacock from the dimensionals. So we'll see if I can get them off. These ones might be cooled down too much already. Nope, they're good. There we go. So now all I need to do is put this on a new card base. That's actually really pretty as a note card size, I think. So we'll see if we can get these off. Nice to see. Yes, thank you, Louise. It's they happen to all of us, right? Okay, I'm gonna forego those dimensionals. I'll just use new ones, and I'm gonna quickly grab a new card base, and then we can attach this to a new card base. So bear with me 1 second. Sorry to do this to you right as we are almost done, but I figured it was better to just show you how I deal with those things when they happen. So I have just cut a new 5.5 by 8.5 base. Now I can score this at 4 1/4. Whoopsie. And then I'm going to move these over because I don't want to drop this in that again. So we're going to just burnish that fold. Make sure that my cardstock is good. Now, sometimes the one end might be a little longer, so I just wanted to assess that quickly before I put this down. Now we're going to re-outfit this with dimensionals. Those ones on the other card can just be garbage. It's not worth fighting with them too much to get them off. this sheet is not wanting to separate as nicely from its backing. There we go. And here we'll just throw another one there and another one there. Now we'll keep this away from that mix and we will retry this. I love how bright those colors turned out. All right, here we go. So now we can just redo, and then it's just like it never happened. There we are. Now we're done. I'm not going to move that over here. I'll bring it closer one more time for you. So we've got the blended background with the splatters to remove some of the pigment and reveal the white dots. And then we have the splattered pretty peacock. Yes, it's a happy accident. Thanks, Linda. And then the stamped starfish, I almost called it a seahorse again, and our greeting and the die cut elements. So that is card number 3. I will come back tomorrow with a very minimum of card number 4. I will decide whether or not I'll do 2 tomorrow or whether I'll come live Friday and Saturday and do a single card each day. Again, if you wish to receive the supplies for this week's cards, you can always submit a $65 order on my website with this host code, or if you are local, then I can always submit it for you with an order I have going in, and you can pick up from my home in St. James. So thanks guys very much for tuning in. I will see you guys all tomorrow. And if you decide to give any of this a try, please do let me know. I love to hear all about how you guys learn something and go forward and create. That is why we share. And I love hearing how it inspires you guys in your crafting. So we will see you tomorrow. And thanks again for joining in. Good night, everyone.